to get started on the bumper today. So this is the rear bumper. So I took some 3/16 plate and of course drilled a couple holes because the threads are in the body. And I was going to see if I could go the other way around and do the bolts from the inside, but the panel on the passenger side is closed in where those weld nuts are. So we'll have to do it from the outside. It's just a real pain to get this bolt out. So we'll just have to design the bumper to go around that. But I've made a template, which is flying around down there on the ground. A little wind here today. To enclose this, probably step it out a little bit, just to get the general idea where the body is, because we kind of want to tie it all together. We were looking at using the factory bumper from an earlier car, but we have to dechrome that and everything else, so I'm just looking at a different concept right now. So we will try it out and show you more when we get there. So I made a couple plates that bolt onto the back of the car in a stock location, and with some trial and error came up with a tube that we can weld to this, and that'll put the bumper approximately where it's going to be. So I came up with that notch by placing this on here and kind of looking approximately where I wanted it to line up on the body shell. Then I just tacked a piece of old scraps inch and 3/4 that I had laying around and just kind of tacked it in place, and then found out approximately where it's going to sit. So I got it level. That's what I was using this for. And then the hardest part of this, which is probably not easy to see, where my finger is, there's a bolt. So you can just get in there with a universal and a short 5/8 and take that bolt out. So that was the hardest part of taking this bumper off before. Then what I did, so I took a piece of tubing that happened to be exactly the right length and laid it up against the body that would contact in these 2 points. So I did a little bit of trig and found it out it needed a 2-degree angle. So it's going to be really hard to see, but there's a 2-degree angle in here that allows it to follow the body really, really nicely. So I'm holding it up on the passenger side of my hand, and on the driver's side it's sitting in that tube. So when I get back tomorrow, I'll go ahead and weld the driver's side up, just set this tube in here and see how I like it. So just playing around today with how we want to kind of do a roll pan or rear quarter extension, whatever you want to call it. So I just kind of mock something up in cardboard, just to see how things look. Of course I got the bumper off, bumper tube. I don't weld that on yet. We'll wait till we go ahead and make the bumper and weld that on, but I'll show you what I've been working on next. This is the rear of the car, and this here is basically the valance. So the rear tire set here on the driver's side. You can see where the fuel filler net comes through, and of course that's the passenger side. And this panel actually has rust on the inside, and there's a little piece inside here. As you can tell, it's got a lot of little holes for holding the gas tank and other things. So I was kind of wondering, is it easier to fix all that or to remove it? And then we can build something that wraps around from this lip here down and goes around here, or even all the way down to the quarter itself. So I sent Bubba a couple pictures and ideas, and he said, yep, that's what I want for the roll pan, rear valance, whatever you want to call it. So you can see I've gone through and highlighted the spot welds, and I'm just going to take an initial cut there on the black line and remove this panel And the nice thing is on the back side, you can see the frame that I welded in, and that's that panel that it welds to. So we'll have a nice surface to weld all this together. We can weld it to that frame part, come down, out, and then back up, kind of to match the body lines. We'll have to do something like a panel that you unbolt here for to take the bumper out, but especially to get that top bolt out. But I think that's a workable option. So we're going to go ahead and drill some spot welds and peel some sheet metal away, and we'll bring you back when we get that done. So there we have it. One lower rear valance removed. And I did some initial grinding just to kind of clean up where the spot welds are, so I gotta straighten that surface up. So now what I plan on doing, let's see if I can do this with my light, is come in here and make a panel that'll weld onto the rear part of the frame, come down, back, and then weld up into here. Possibly put a little curve in it. We'll see what we can come up with. So I gotta run to my steel supply place after lunch and probably get some 16 gauge. And he's got a nice press brake, so have him weld it up, or bend it up for me, and we'll try it out. So I've got a piece of 18 gauge bent up at my metal supply store. So this area will go on the gas tank side, and then this is for basically the roll pan. So as you can tell, I tried to bend this a little bit using a couple different methods because my bender is only 4 foot and this is 56 inches wide, and I couldn't do it. So I think the best way to do it is I'm going to split this and then put the actual rolled form in on my new English wheel. So I think that'll work a lot better, and then we can cut and fit this correctly in the car, and then I could just weld this back together when I get everything else cut for the front side, or the back side actually. So we'll cut this in half and keep moving forward. So I cut the two pieces apart and did a little bit of fitting for the inner roll pan, so this goes up to the frame that I welded in that holds the gas tank. So that is just got 2 Clecos holding it in place. Just kind of mock up and see where we go next. So here it's Clecoed on the passenger side, and I did a little trimming here for the sheet metal, but got it fit around the frame pieces, and got a nice 1-inch lip to hold it in place. Now just got to figure out how to attach it in the corners and make a bunch of little pieces, but so far very, very happy with that. Let's make a little bit more progress today. So this is the rear inside of the rear roll pan, and I just made a brace that'll come down and weld to that attaches to the frame, and then I'll have a piece that comes across here that we can plug weld in to kind of close that all off and probably add a little bit more strength. Spent some time this morning making big pieces of metal into little pieces of metal. So this is the passenger side, that's the rear quarter, and that's the roll pan and the back of the roll pan. So I'd previously made this piece, and then I just made a filler to tie this all together and make it look pretty nice. So I'm very happy with that. This is the driver's side rear quarter. This is the back corner of it. And this is a little closeout I made because this is kind of a little strengthener, but it's just something that I'd come up and cut off on the previous version. And then this little panel that I made that'll just plug weld in place. Just got a couple Clecos one Cleco holding it in place now, but just everything's for mock-up right now. This afternoon I've been working on the rear roll pan, so the part that's actually curved. So I had cut it out of the original big piece that I'd made, just split it along the bottom there. And then I cut it down this afternoon to the center line of these pipes. So you can kind of see I had a notch in there to make them fit on both sides. And needs just a touch more work. But I kind of want to use that surface to weld it to. So we'll plug weld it down through here. So this is all got to be straightened and a couple holes drilled, but very happy with the results so far. And the next thing I'm going to look at is how we want to make the closeouts. So I think I'm taking another piece of this material that's bent and maybe come out to this surface. So in a sense you'll just have a line there, and we'll probably put a flange or something here and some way to hook those together, but we're still concepting things out. I was working on the car this morning and realized that as soon as I weld in the roll pan, I'm not going to be able to get the bumper off. So I made some lines right there at the edge of the bumper. We'll have to remove that material so that once the roll pan's welded in, we can get the bumper off. So fortunately saves some time, so that's where it's a good idea to slow down and think about things and look at things, and especially sleep on things. So we'll get that corrected and show you more. Well, that looks a lot better. Now we can actually get the bumper off, which is kind of the whole point of this operation. So that's driver's side. That is the passenger side. So I think I'm going to come up with some closeouts to kind of fit in here, flange that we can either bolt to or studs or something. But we'll try studs first and see what works. So we're going to do a little inner. So we're changing up a little bit today. I had bought this Miller Diversion 180 starter TIG machine a couple months ago. Figured I had a little bit of money and it came up for sale, so I purchased it brand new. And I've always wanted a TIG machine, so things worked out well. And I thought, well, when I get some time or have a need for it, I'll teach myself how to do it. And since we are all in quarantine, which is no real change for me because I'm always in the garage anyway by myself, I decided this would be a good day to break it out. So yesterday I went and got a few supplies and some tungsten and some cups and filler rod because I want to braze end caps on the end of the roll pan for the Astre. So we've been doing a little practicing. So I'm not rolling dimes yet, but I am very happy. So these are my last passes. That was some stuff I had done before lunch. So I'd probably spent 3-4 hours just playing around. And this is the same material I'll be using on the roll pan. So it's an 18 gauge cold rolled. Let's see if it's cold enough I can flip it over yet. And yesterday I was practicing on some corner welds because that's what we have to do, and playing with heat ranges so you can see what it looks like on the inside. I haven't ground that one yet, but I'm actually quite happy with it. Using some stainless steel rod. I've ground certain areas down just to see what it would look like. And that's my first attempt there on the corner for doing a corner. So I'm quite happy. We'll keep playing around with it today, and tomorrow I've got to weld the back pieces in and all the braces and stuff so I can get the final position for the roll pan. And we'll get that ready to weld in and start welding the corners on. We're back at it again today. Just got all the pieces I made before all cleaned up and primed with weld through primer. And the backs, you're not going to be able to see that, but that's black. That's just some self-etching primer for the back side where it's not going to be welded. I had to make one more little piece because there's a hole here I didn't have anything to weld to. So I put a little jog in it. So go ahead and weld those through. Some plug welds. And then push this up just a touch and seam weld it. And then we'll have something to weld the inner back panel to. But besides that, everything's all welded up and primed up and ready to go. So got that panel welded in, ground down and primered and checked with the other panel. Everything looks good. Doesn't have to be perfectly welded, it's just to give something to put 4 or 5 spots, and I think it's right in here is where the spot welds are that didn't have anything to weld to, so that'll work. We'll move on to the next project. We have everything cleccoed in place and clamped in place. I went ahead on the passenger side and welded that brace in, just because it's easier to do from this side. This is the driver's side quarter extension. Get that all nice and tight fitting, so we'll go ahead and weld that in. And then we've got the passenger side quarter. That's all fitting really good, so, oops, drilled a hole I shouldn't have, but that's okay. That's a drain. So I'm sure we'll do a little tapping to make things tight a little bit more tight, and we'll start welding. We're all done welding. Got to get through with a wire brush and clean everything up and dress up some of the welds, but that is the back driver's side. Looks like there's a little clecco hole I got to fill. We'll fill that tomorrow. So here's the passenger side all welded in. Got the back panel. All the way over to the driver's side. So we'll go ahead and clean that up and do a little touch-up spray paint tomorrow, and this will be finished. So we're back at it again this morning. So this is the driver's side roll pan closeout plate. It's hard to say all that at once. And what I did was took another piece of 18 gauge, kind of roughed it out, and then put 2 Kleckos in. So the first thing I'm going to do is make them the same, and then what I plan on doing is doing a little relief in it, and putting a riv nut so that we can bolt these 2 together, and that'll give us a way to detach that driver's side closeout. So I'll show you when we get there. That's my riv nut setter. So I've taken the inner piece, that was the original, and enlarged those holes. So you can see on the back side they're steel, so probably lasted longer than the sheet metal. And this is the outside piece, DSO. Put that on there. And we got a couple of 1032 flatheads. So that makes them nice and tight. So we'll look at putting the inner piece, start welding that into the roll pan. That's what I've been practicing on. I've been practicing on 20 gauge, and not great yet, but nothing a grinder can't fix. So hopefully that's what it's going to look like once I get it welded. But I just got a couple clamps in the, or not clamps, magnetic angle blocks in the back, setting up on some blocks. So I'm going to try to weld this together. Still working on my welding skills, but they're improving. So we'll try this 18 gauge and a TIG welder and see what we come up with. So if you see this, I was slightly successful, otherwise I'll wait a couple days and make up another one. But either way, we're moving forward. Well, it's nowhere near perfect, but it didn't blow any holes. So I think I'm going to do is grind this a little bit, and there's some spots that I missed, and get off some of the big pieces so it's a little easier to fill in the gaps. But I was a little concerned about this, but I'm a lot happier now. So we'll just keep working on it. Show you more when I get it done. Well, that is all filed and done. It's going to need probably a skim coat of the outer edges because you can see where I've been filing it. Got some low spots, but that's to be expected from a noob. But can do a little bit more filing around the edge, but I am satisfied with that right now. So it's time to have some lunch and get started on the other side. So there you have it. That is the passenger side, all welded in, filed down. It's got a tiny little imperfections that can be filled during the finishing process. And I got the other piece made and holes all drilled, so we'll put it in and get ready to weld it in place. Well, spent the better part of the morning getting this all cut and fitted to the body, into the inner pan. So I got both sides the way I want them. And we got the bottom fit to the inner pan, so I had to weld a piece of sheet metal in along in here because I didn't cut it right. Should have cut it a lot straighter and in the center, but that's okay. That'll take it up. And then from here to here is 14 inches for the license plate. You can see I did a little bit better job cutting here, so that part's all done. So now it's time to take everything apart, clean it up good, deburr it, and put some primer on the inside so it doesn't rust. But here's the inside of the roll pan, drying out in the sun. It's nice, it's about 80 out, so it is all black and ready to go in. And here's the inner roll pan, all painted and cleaned and drying. And then the last thing I just did, which I'm pretty proud of, I actually got that hole almost perfectly centered, so that is for the gas tank. As you can see, it's going to sit underneath where the license plate goes. So I'll have to stop and get a gas tank or gas cap today or tomorrow, a ventless one, and we'll put that on. And once we get the roll pan on, we can start looking at doing the gas tank door and the license plate holder and all that fun stuff. But right now, moving forward. Today we're mocking up where the license plate's going to go. So I have to know the depth front and back to the car. And also I'm waiting on a gas cap. That should be here at lunchtime. They don't carry them for steel tanks anymore, so you have to order them. But we'll get that all figured out. So right now I've got the bumper tube mounted and approximately where it's going to go. So we can start hanging a license plate and seeing how much we have to cut into the roll pan, determine the depth, and then we can weld that in and start working on the license plate location. So this is the piece I want to use on the filler neck for the gas tank. I want something to go between the back panel and the roll pan so that you can kind of reach your hand in and take off the gas cap, but keep water from going down between the back panel and the roll pan. So I'll kind of show you what I come up with. So this is what I've come up with so far. The tube is just tacked in place. I'll go ahead and weld that all the way around, and then we'll put some seam sealer from the back side. But you can reach in and unscrew the gas cap, put the gas cap back on, and then I'll go ahead and clearance on the back side to make that a little bit bigger in the back panel. Can't really see it from here, but we'll seam seal around that. It'll make it nice and sturdy. So got a little bit to do on this yet. I got to pick a little filler piece for here, and hopefully we'll get to welding this up today. So voila, there we are. We got a little bit of welding gaps to fill up, but it's all in there. So this is the You can see the radius there from the expansion on the stainless steel exhaust tube, and it's tacked on the inside back in here to the back panel. So I have still a little bit of work to do on the bottom, but this is kind of what I was doing, and it gives you a nice rolled edge. You can weld around that and grind it in, and the gas cap is a little bit high, but we haven't put any material between the frame and the gas tank, so that should lower down a little bit. And it's a nice depth, and then once the bumper goes in here, and we'll just make it cut out around this, so you can see this is where the license plate would go, but I think the license plate's not going to actually be in the roll pan. It'll just hang off from the rear bumper somehow, but we'll figure that out when we get to the rear bumper. Got everything ready to go. So I finished welded the tube in with a gas filler neck. Got a little bit more to grind out on the inside, but my last belt broke, but so it's pretty close. And then I just went ahead and hit it with some weld-through primer, some etching primer. We'll let that dry, do a final test fit, and then we'll weld the rear roll pan in. Then I can start doing something else. Got it all tacked together. So got a bunch of little plug welds at the top, which will grind a little bit and seam seal. Got some stitch welding on the side, a little bit more to do on the driver's side. Put us all in place. Got around the filler neck access hole, so that'll just be some grinding to get that taken care of. And here's, I just got a few stitch welds to hold it in place, and we'll come back tomorrow morning and finish that up. Start grinding things down. I got the bottom stitch welded, but that's going to take some more because it's the full width of the piece. So very happy with how that turned out. So come in tomorrow morning and finish that up. We'll keep moving forward. It's the next morning, and I got the welding all done on the bottom side. So of course it's going to warp a little bit, but I think a nice little skim coat on that will take care of it. So we will finish up with checking the last few things, make sure everything's ground, and then we'll head on to the next thing. So I think it's time to finish this part of the video, and roll pan's complete. We'll move on to the next step.